Hi, this is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company, and this is Sunday from the sewing room. So I know you're all watching the Packer game, so I'm going to get right to it. There's a lot going on in the shop, so make sure you stop by. So today I am demoing the Ultimate Flying Geese tool from Creative Grids. It comes to, and it will let you do up to a 4x8 flying geese, and it helps you measure it and gives you the instructions for it. So let me show you how to get started. When you get the ruler, it has the instructions right on it, and I'm going to show you the two methods that it tells you how to do. It has the heart method of creating a flying geese, and it also has the flip and sew method of creating the flying geese. So that's really cool, and I would save that. The other thing that the ruler has, if you can see it, it has the measurements right on the ruler for whatever finished size that you want your flying geese to be, all the way up in half-inch increments, all the way up to 4x8. So it starts by a 1/2 by 1, and it goes all the way up to 4x8. It will tell you what size to cut your goose, and you cut one block of your goose in either of these sizes all the way up to 4x8, and you cut 4 of your sky in the sizes that they tell you here. So what I'm going to demo for you is the 2x4 finished goose. So what I did was I cut one square at 5 3/4 inches, and then I cut 4 squares for my sky at 3 1/4 inches, and that's what you'll need to finish 4 flying geese. So let me show you the first method. The first method is the Soin Flip. So you take your one 5 3/4 inch square, or whatever size that the ruler tells you, and you're going to cut that on the diagonal both ways. So I cut it here and I cut it here, and then that gives you 4 separate triangles. Okay, then you take all 4 of your flying, or of your sky, excuse me, I can talk, and you're going to cut that once on the diagonal. And then I think you pretty much know how this works. And if you're using this method, I highly recommend you starching your fabric, because you are going to be sewing on the bias. So the first thing that you will do is you will take this and stitch all the way down, press it open, and do the same thing for the other side. I always have to remember which way I do it. You're going to put this right side together, stitch, and flip it open. And what you will end up is a piece that looks like that. So that is the first method. Let me get that one out of your way. The second method is the heart method, and this makes 4 flying geese at one time. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your 2 squares, 2 of the 4 squares, and you're going to put them on opposite corners, and they're going to overlap in the center. And then I drew a line on each side, and you're going to stitch 1/4 inch on each side of that line. And now I'm going to cut that open, and I just use the flying geese ruler to do that because it's just a really good size. And then what you have is you'll flip these open just like that. And then you put your other piece on this side, and you will stitch 1/4 inch on each side of the line, and then you will flip that open, and that's how you get your flying geese. So you get the same thing, except you're just making 2 at a time this way. Okay, so when you have your flying geese all done, and what they've done is they've made these oversized for you, you use this ruler to trim it up, and it will tell you up here in the 1/4 inch seam allowance, this is trim number 1. So what I am doing is I'm finding my 2x4 inch finished, and I am going to line that dashed line up with that seam on my sky. And I'm just making sure that that is pretty straight. And then as you can see, I have a lot left over to trim off, and it's going to make sure that I have my 1/4 inch seam allowance. So you trim on this side, and then you trim on that side. Okay. So you have it trimmed nicely this way. Now you have to trim the other side. So what you do is not only do you rotate the block, but you also rotate the ruler, and it says trim number 2. And then once you have your trimmed up nice on this side from trim 1, you can line up this edge just as they're showing you here, this dashed line, because it's a 2x4 finished, right along the perfectly cut edges of that flying geese. And then you trim the other 2 sides. And then you have the perfect flying geese with your seam allowance there, and the exact amount of fabric on each side so you won't lose your points. So this will be a 2x4 finish, so this measures 2 1/4 by 4 1/2. So that's it for today. This is the Ultimate Flying Geese tool from Creative Grids. It's in the shop. If you have any questions, we will have this in the shop and show you another demo. Thanks for stopping, and we'll see you next week at the shop. Bye-bye.